William Henry Belpitt, a Ryde Man, and I doubt history will remember him very well, at least not common history, but he is well known amongst men and women of the American Legion and a group of naval enthusiasts. William was born in Ryde on the 3rd of May 1860. His father died while he was still young, and his mother married again, but her husband, a seaman, was away for long periods of time, and thus she was at her wits' end and lost control of William and his two brothers. They roamed the streets of Sydney at will, and soon they came to the notice of the police. The trio committed to the National Training Ship in Sydney Harbour, designed to sort out wayward youth. His training complete, William made his way to Fremantle and soon ran afoul of the law again, embezzling cargo, and for this he was punished with 12 weeks' imprisonment. On release, he joined part of a ship's crew bound for England. Within an ensuing period, over the few weeks, months I should say, he joined the Royal Navy, where in his words, he took leg ball. Not sure what leg ball actually means. However, I imagine he was not that happy with the Royal Navy. And when he was in New York, he decided to join the United States Navy, enlisting for 3 years. And he was posted as an ordinary seaman to the side-wheel gunboat USS Montcrecy, whose mission was to patrol the coasts and the major rivers of Japan, Korea, and China. He was duly promoted to petty officer and appointed to captain of the after part of the ship. The USS Montcrecy was a gunboat stationed in China Station. A lot of European and American naval forces operated gunboats in the China Station from about mid-1860s onwards. They were basically the police force for the river. Their job was to protect European and American business interests, missionaries, and other citizens in the country. The most famous movie of the period that probably covers much of what they did is Sam Pebbles, which was Steve McQueen plays a young engineer posted to a riverboat. But anyway, the Montcrecy was a paddle steamer. Her operational time was from 1844 to 1903, and it was on this ship that William Belpitt achieved his major part of fame. William Belpitt was on board the Montcrecy, as said, as captain of the after guard, which was basically very much like the leading seaman in charge of a Royal Australian Navy ship while it's alongside, manning the gangway. He was, on the 7th of October 1884, they were in China on the river when he saw a man in a small boat fall into the water. It must have been pretty rough or pretty swift current moving there, because he started to panic and he was on the verge of drowning. And without any hesitation or disregard and total disregard for his own safety, William immediately dove in the water and kept the man afloat until a rescue boat arrived. As I said, it must have been fairly turbulent water, because they don't normally give out the Congressional Medal of Honour for going for an afternoon swim. So William was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honour, the naval one. At that time there were two, a Navy and an Army Congressional Medal of Honour, but equal rank and on par with the Victoria Cross of the British forces. Following his discharge from the Navy, William returned to Sydney and married Minnie Gould. They had a son, Charles, who later served in the 1st AIF and as a member of the Field Ambulance. William didn't seem to make much noise about his medal, although it was made public in around about 1895 in one of the papers at the time. However, he was just went back into the civilian life. He became a harbour master, harbour and rivers. Later, he was a crew member on the nautical ship Sobrero, which replaced the Vernon, where William and his brothers had done their time as children. William was now an avid letter writer, and he wrote to the New South Wales Parliament highlighting the brutality and abuses he personally witnessed aboard that ship. As I've said before, William was a bit of a knockabout lad, and even though he had obviously settled into married life and was doing responsible jobs, along came the Boer War, and he volunteered for the New South Wales Medical Corps with the hope of deploying to South Africa. However, they took a long time to get the organisation together, so he decided to jump in on a ship heading for South Africa at his own expense with a bunch of his mates, and they arrived in South Africa and firstly joined a British unit, the Imperial Hospital Corps, then two colonial units, Johannesburg Mounted Rifles, and later the South African Light Horse. His service earned him the Queen's South Africa Medal with 3 clasps. On returning to Sydney, his military service done, and it had a severe effect on his health. However, he still became a fireman and continued to do active work. On the 29th of November 1912, while a patient in the Rookwood Infirmary Asylum, he succumbed to his illness and died. Since his death, he is laid in an unmarked grave in Rookwood Cemetery. That was until 11th of October 2025, when, after a long campaign with the American Legion post in Sydney and a group of people over the course of 20 years of documenting William's story and finding family, direct descendants, they were able to acquire a plaque to go on a grave. The American Veterans Organisation paid for the plaque, but obviously putting it up and finding a suitable stone, etc., was left to the local community. They raised this money from various donations and organisations, and on the 11th of October, they formally unveiled his tombstone. His daughter spoke, his granddaughter or great-granddaughter spoke at length about his service and what it meant to her and her family to see this award. After the service, he was presented with the family were presented with the Medal of Honour, a replica of the medal he would have worn, and a certificate to indicate what happened, why William Henry Belpitt got this award, and why he should be remembered. To close off this short review of William's life and why he was should be held in such high esteem, I'd just like to point out that the community did come together, and while he was clearly not remembered early in his after his death, other than by his family, over the course of the last 20 years, a number of organisations have put their weight behind finding his story and indeed providing him with this fitting memorial. Thank you.